Lawyers for the SlideBar Rock and Roll Kitchen released portions of a deposition by Michael Reeves, the ex-bouncer fired by the restaurant. Reeves filed the lawsuit after he was fired last September, demanding at least $4 million for lost wages and emotional distress. In the lawsuit, Reeves said the manager of SlideBar filed a false police report that brought the police out to confront Kelly Thomas, who later died from wounds he received during his confrontation with Fullerton police. The SlideBar's attorneys deny that claim. Here are excerpts from the deposition provided by SlideBar's attorneys.
I do.
And please comment.
Do you recall working the night Kelly Thomas was killed?
I do.
After getting to your post at approximately 8:10 p.m., did you observe Kelly Thomas in the parking lot of the SlideBar?
Yes.
Where was he approximately?
He was approximately, it's about 20 feet to 25 feet. There's a garbage can and a tree, and he was picking up cigarette butts.
How many times did you see him appear to pick up cigarettes that night?
Multiple. He was picking up cigarette butts. He may have been picking up rocks, but I did see him pick up cigarette butts.
At any point in time that you were observing him in the parking lot, as you described, did you see him cut in between cars?
No.
Just so the record's clear, are you absolutely positive you did not see Kelly Thomas moving in between cars at any point during your observations that night?
I never saw him move in between a car.
Well, representative officer of the court, this is what was occurring at the same exact time of the same video we just watched.
Okay, so not necessarily on July 5th, 2011? Is that correct, counsel?
Exactly, July 5th, 2011. You see an individual walking there, now cutting through cars?
Yes.
Do you recognize that to be Kelly Thomas?
To my best recollection, that appears to look like Kelly, yes.
And in the video you just watched, did you see him pick up any cigarettes or rocks?
No.
Does watching that video refresh your memory of that's what you observed the night of July 5th of Kelly Thomas before the beating?
I'm sticking with my testimony.
Okay. So forget what the video says, you're going with your testimony. True.
Objection argumentative.
Okay. I'll represent you. This is Kelly Thomas about 15 minutes before the police beat him. On July 5th, 2011. Do you see him cutting through cars here?
I see a man walking through cars.
And is it now your testimony that you don't know if that's Kelly Thomas or not?
It appears to be Kelly Thomas.
When was the first time you noticed Jeanette going out to the parking lot after you took your post?
She never went out to the parking lot. She came and stood next to me.
During the 7 minutes that you just described where you observed Kelly Thomas, where was Jeanette during, say, the first minute you noticed her?
To my left.
Side by side?
I would say yes.
And during the entire time you observed Kelly Thomas, did Jeanette ever leave your side?
No.
At any point in time, did you ever see Jeanette in the parking lot at the same time you saw Kelly Thomas walking around that area?
No.
When you say Jeanette made a false police report, is that because you believe Jeanette was standing next to you while Kelly Thomas was in the parking lot? So you would have had the same vantage point, per se.
She was standing next to me, and we were both looking at the same vantage point, Kelly Thomas. And that's why I believe it to be a false police report.
Is the reason you're so positive she made a false police report on her observations the fact that you believe she was standing right next to you when she made those observations and you didn't see it?
She was standing right next to me.
So is that a true statement?
Yes.
All three of these videos I'll represent to you were taken between 8 and 8:30 on the night of July 5th, 2011, just prior to the police arriving and beating Kelly Thomas. Is the person in the middle you?
Yes.
And who is the person that you're talking to?
I can't tell from the back.
Okay. And do you see the SlideBar logo under the podium?
I do.
Does that refresh your memory as to this being in the front entrance of the SlideBar?
Yes.
Do you recognize this person walking in from the parking lot right there as Jeanette?
Yes.
Thank you. Where does Jeanette appear to be coming from?
Parking lot.
Thank you. I'll show you a video of Jeanette walking in from the parking lot while you're drinking a bottle of water and see if that refreshes your memory that Jeanette was in the parking lot and not next to your side as you testified under penalty of perjury on the night Kelly Thomas was in the parking lot. After watching what you just watched, does it refresh your memory at all whether or not Jeanette was actually standing next to you as you testified earlier today?
And you're referring now to July 5th, 2011.
You can answer.
Objection vague and ambiguous.
I don't know when this video is from, and I stand what I said earlier today. I stand by it.
Okay, so watching that video does not refresh your memory that Jeanette was in fact in the parking lot at some point that night.
Objection vague and ambiguous.
This could have been any Tuesday night.
Okay. Earlier, you made very clear that you were out at the podium for 7 minutes. Jeanette joined you and was out there for the last 6 minutes. You recall that testimony?
Yes.
Is this the letter you said you wrote to the appeal board?
Mr. Reeves, make sure you read it before you can answer any question regarding the exhibit in front of you.
Absolutely. Take your time. Is that your signature on Exhibit F?
Yes.
Okay. You see the paragraph that begins on the evening of July 5th, 2011, on page 2? Just point it to you.
Yes.
It says, on the evening of July 5th, 2011, I observed Kelly Thomas in the parking lot outside the SlideBar when I arrived for my shift. As I reached the entrance of the bar, the daytime supervisor, Jeanette DeMarco, was standing at the door and talking about Kelly Thomas being outside. Does that refresh your memory that Jeanette was actually at the podium when you arrived at your shift?
I must have messed up in typing it.
Does that refresh your memory that Jeanette was observing things out there before you even arrived?
That was a typo, my fault.
So you're saying the one time you did tell somebody in writing about this false report, you wrote it wrong?
Objection vague, ambiguous, overbroad.
I messed up.
Were you there when she called the police?
Yes.
Was she still standing on your left?
No, she walked out and around the left gate, which is about approximately 5 feet away from me, and made the phone call.
Okay. And who was with you at the time, if anybody?
No one.
You mentioned earlier in your testimony that Jeanette was 5 feet away from you when she made the phone call to the Fullerton police dispatcher.
To my best recollection, 5 to 6 feet, yes.
Where were you standing? Where was she standing?
I was standing at the podium, and like I said earlier, she walked to my left and was on the other side of the handrail.
And and you didn't speak to anybody during those entire 2 minutes.
Objection asked and answered.
No.
Do you recognize the person on the podium on the phone?
No, I can't see who that is.
Okay, I'll represent you. That's Jeanette. And are you in this video?
I am.
Where are you?
In the middle between those two bodies.
And can you tell whether or not you're listening to Jeanette's conversation at this point?
No.
Here you see Jeanette walking away to your left. Earlier you testified that when Jeanette called the police, she walked to your left behind the barrier. Is that a frame on the video depicting that scenario?
That is correct.
And are you still listening to Jeanette talk to the police at this point that you can tell?
Objection assumes facts not in evidence. Document speaks for itself.
show it to you. What I'm going to show you now, I just put on video for you, is the split screen from the surveillance camera on between 8 and 8:30 on July 5th, 2011, just prior to the police being called about Kelly Thomas. Do you still stick with your original testimony that you were watching Kelly Thomas 90% of the time he was in the parking lot the night he was killed?
I do.
Does that refresh your memory that your back was to the parking lot when Kelly Thomas walked by
Vague as to which date, time?
the night he was killed? Take your time. Does that refresh your memory, sir? That your back was actually turned when Kelly Thomas walked by in front of the slide bar prior to Jeanette calling the police?
No.
Does it refresh your memory that Jeanette was not standing next to you for the 6 minutes as you described earlier?
No.
Does it refresh your memory that Jeanette was actually in the parking lot at the same time Kelly Thomas was?
No.
Okay. Is it your opinion that the video I showed you and represented to be July 05 was really September 05, so you don't believe it?
I believe it was 9.
Okay. And was Kelly Thomas alive or dead in September 2011?
He died on July 10th, 2011, I believe.
Anybody got anything else? You see the three guys over the letter B.
That would be me, David, I presume, who we called Smalls. I'm not sure who that is.
Okay. And okay. Does that picture refresh your recollection as to who was with you when you observed Kelly Thomas?
I was always told that our video didn't go past it didn't go out into the street.
So when you showed up here today, you did not believe that this incident was on a security surveillance
I
camera?
was told that our camera never went out past the curb.
Move to strike as non-responsive. Please read back my question.
So when you showed up here today, you did not believe this incident was on security surveillance camera?
We had one surveillance camera, and I was always told that it never went past the curb.
Move to strike as non-responsive. Sir, when you showed up here today for your deposition, did you believe that the incident that you've been talking about was captured on a video surveillance camera, yes or no?
Which video was the surveillance camera? I think we already testified to some of the stuff that's on the internet.
You can answer.
If you understand the question, you can answer.
I don't, because I don't know which cameras are which. I don't know what cameras I'm viewing.
Okay. If you had known that your conduct observing Kelly Thomas that night was videotaped, do you have any answers that you'd like to change that you made earlier today?
May I speak with my counsel?
No, not until you answer the question.
Do you understand the question, Mr. Reeves?
No.
Knowing, strike that, I'll represent to you that we have you on videotape during this alleged time that Kelly Thomas walks by and so forth. Knowing you're about to see that, is there anything you'd like to change about your sworn testimony or penalty of perjury from today?
If I'm on tape with anybody surrounding me, the traumatic event has caused me to forget.